What you're about to see is a remote viewing session done totally blind by the remote viewer. This is one session of a series of sessions where the focus is on the Ukraine war, but not inside Ukraine. Rather, the focus is on the expansion of the war into Western Europe under two different conditions. Now, the first condition is where Europe sends additional and significant military resources to help Ukraine fight the war. That's focus one. Focus two is where Europe does not send additional and significant military resources to help Ukraine fight the war. That is focus two. So we have two timelines, and we are interested here in whether the sending of military resources to Ukraine from Western Europe makes a noticeable difference in how the war evolves. If you like what you see in this video, please consider subscribing to FarsightPrime.com, our own streaming service, where you can see all of our major projects that have been conducted over a great many years, plus new projects that are being added each month. FarsightPrime.com, under any definition, is cutting edge. Nowhere else can you find content that explores the deepest mysteries of planet Earth, our solar system, and the galaxy under scientifically clean conditions. At Farsight, we give you the facts, and only the facts. Raw data observed under scientifically defensible and clean conditions. When you rely on he said, she said content that fills the mainstream news, you are being manipulated, lied to. But when you look at the facts, raw and unadulterated data, you are getting the real deal. The remote viewer for this session is Yeme Jeaneé. All right, Yeme, so here we are with deep news. Now, just for the audience's sake, you don't know anything about the nature of the project or the target, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so why don't you go through your session, and I have a copy of your session in front of me, the paper session, so why don't you go through it and you'll perceive new things as you go through, of course, like always. And then we will tell you what the target is in the target reveal after that. But right now, why don't you just tell us what you perceived, and then after that I'll tell you what the target is. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm sort of looking at your first flash sketch, so why don't you just proceed, and that's it.
So I have here flat land with base surface movement on and above the land, natural man-made environment, structures, flat top structures, wide and tall, hard land location. I have an interesting sketch of structures and what appears to be a form of a non-surface structure in the midst of it, but I'm not 100% sure at this very second. I've got gravel or hard land, very natural here.
It looks like a jet. It's got wings like a jet.
It looks like a jet.
Okay, go ahead.
I've got dark man-made land with structures here. And I had what I deemed as a huge deduction, and my own personal thoughts and feelings were that I keep seeing a structure jetting, like hit by a non-surface structure, or like something that is elevated. I was trying to push it out, but I drew it again, a non-surface structure moving towards rapidly a surface structure here. I've got cloud dynamics amidst, near, or over a non-surface structure with subjects. And I saw what felt like a side view, maybe, of a structure that kind of had some tiered levels. I see swirls of some sort. I also hear a lot of wind type sounds and heard loud sounds. There is this, and my feeling of the structure getting hit by a non-surface structure was, I labeled event K. I saw something hard that seems to be breaking or detaching or attaching. I wasn't sure which way it was going, but it seemed to be broken here and split in two. I saw that shape, a metallic hard situation or a hard situation. At the center of focus one, there was a lot of movement, gray hues, structures both on the surface and not on the surface, man-made. There's movement along the surface via subjects and what feels like moving structures, deducted machines.
So this is all focus one.
Yes, this is all focus one. I hear voices shouting, man-made noises, and there is this large, hard, metallic situation that had aggression in its energy field. It was harsh and it's shaped. Okay, so it looks like, to huge deduction, but it looks like this multi-cannon situation, the way it's drawn. Huge deduction, but so it's got little pillars and a bottom here. I don't know what that is, that object or structure. At the center of this target at focus one, this really feels like an aggressive, potentially violent situation. I smell man-made smells that is dusty or, cloudy here. Cloud dynamics really thick and has a scent. I deducted smoke. Something feels out of control, rapid, out of control, spiraling or multi-directional movement. Man-made form, an object that's really hard. Here, it's very busy, heightened, elevated energy. There are energetics. This is a very exciting and not like a, oh my God, yay type of exciting, but like exciting energy here. There's this high dynamics here, very complex movement. I see subjects that could possibly be hurt or harmed. At the target event here at Focus One, I wrote this as event K. It's very shaky, rumbling, loud, broken structures. Structure, I see. So I really do feel as though something very large and very heavy struck a structure. I believe this is either a non-surface structure B or something else that's elevated. The structure has or had subjects inside, and there is a rush. There is an impact. I sense terror, fear, and confusion here. There's a lot going on here. I see something moving out or, out of control rapidly, then striking a structure. Now, there's a possibility that it was in control, but its appearance is moving rapidly and then striking a structure. I'm moving to the origin of event K. There's a lot of manipulation within this non-surface structure or elevated machine. I have a deduction of electrical malfunction or maybe something that seems to happen to the subject wielding or operating the moving structure. There is a lot of energetics here. There's this zigzagging up and down motion, very jerky. I went kind of an hour in the past and then when the non-surface structure B strikes, and I have this structure that is, the non-surface structure. It seems to be moving very fast, on this timeline. Then it's like it becomes possessed. I use the term possessed or taken out in a sense, it just no longer in its own control. And it starts to move erratically. I have drawings of it going up and side down, side up, just a lot of that. It's starting to move erratically. here. Here's the thing. It seems both erratic and controlled at the same time, but it's very jerky. Something internal of the non-surface structure becomes dysfunctional. It seems it even starts to speed up, like the way a car does with no brakes. Like when you are driving and then you go to press the brake, it almost feels, and it doesn't have brakes, it almost feels like it's accelerating in a sense. It feels like that. Then it just slams into the structure and what looks like dives downward and starts to skid across the land, or what I'm perceiving to be land. I see debris and dirt, a mixture of man-made and natural rubble amidst cloud dynamic and energetics. Swirling, and subjects are in a frenzy. Some severely hurt, dead, some alive. I'm moving into focus 2 here. Focus 2 seems quieter than focus 1. There is friction energetically, but still, there are subjects here. Communication. I don't know why it feels like my heart is beating so fast. I'm in a location with a structure. Subjects are here. I'm doing a collective deep mind probe of the subjects. And it's kind of hard to tap in with them. I went to another pass in a different day for this to get in deeper into focus 2. I have a structure, a base surface, a structure here on a base surface, both natural and man-made land, slopes, what appears to be slopes, and of course our non-surface objects and non-surface structures, very rocky land or near very rocky terrain, peaks. It's smuggy here, even though the air, some areas are crisp, but it's cloudy and smuggy, cool temperatures, air within it. It's like the energy of stillness before chaos, or the quiet after the storm. I have those as deductions. And I hear loud sounds. I have a flash sketch, a visual of an object or structure within the land that kind of has this rocky, or maybe hour dented. I can't really describe it.
Odd shape.
Yeah. I keep seeing this peaked or cone-like situation. What I could not tell is if this was a surface structure or a non-surface structure with energetics, or emitting light. It was very difficult to see it. I moved to the center of scene R for focus 2. There are cloud dynamics, spiraling funnel, disorientation from the subjects. I seem to be in or near something with angles and sides. So I'm almost, at the center of scene R, I am almost not feeling a lot here. However, I can tell there is an energy of movement via the objects and structures here, as well as subjects. It seems blank for some reason. The subjects seem diverse, but most have tanned or brown skin. Okay, and so I see something spinning downward. I see a dark-skinned female here, bald or low haircut. Collectively, I have a deep mind probe of the subjects here at this focus in this scene. Subjects are in disarray. They seem fearful and even a little angry. And there's a structure here of some sort that appears to have pillars and openings. I see some non-brown subjects here. Not really sure. Yeah, I see these oblong shaped or pillar like situations. I have a lot of friction here at this scene R. I'm seeing what looks like two different scenes or views merging. Maybe I'm blending my focuses. I'm not quite sure together. It seems like on one hand, I have calmness in purposeful movement, very organized, subjects moving with a purpose. It's very near where chaos is pulling from, but not in the exact same location. On the other hand, I have this loud, rumbling, chaotic space where the subjects are in a panic, in a frenzy. They are afraid and they do not feel safe. There is this excessive wind or blowing like movement in the environment above the environment. So with these two visuals, I'm not entirely sure how they are blending or merging, but it feels like they are deeply connected within partial cause of each other in this scene, in scene R. There is a lot of chaos. There's a lot of chaos in this area. A lot of shaking, very turbulent movement. There is a lot of rumbling. I am seeing both an aerial-like view and a base view of the same thing sort of happening. There's confusion and concern across the board. With this, I have a deduction of crash or structure hitting structure or falling, pretty damn close to hitting it if it didn't hit it. There is a lot of, theoretically going on here. Like this is from both angles and both terrifying and just, it seems like on one end knows what's happening, and it feels like, or at least there is an understanding of the current circumstance, a clarity or a better clarity in a sense. And that's what I'm getting here.
Okay, well, that's it. All right, so why don't I tell you what the target reveal is now? Are you ready for that? Okay. Well, this was a return to the Ukraine war for this one, but not in Ukraine. We were interested to determine the evolution of the Ukraine war outside of Ukraine in Western Europe, France, Germany, things like that. And so we went to the focus one was the most significant event relating to the Ukraine war with Russia, but outside of Ukraine, in Western Europe, under the conditions where Europe sends additional and significant military resources to help Ukraine fight the war. So from your focus one, it looks like Western Europe gets actively involved in the war and they start getting attacked. It looks like there's missiles or whatever, there's things. Focus one was much more violent than focus two. Focus two is the most significant event relating to the Ukraine war with Russia, but outside of Ukraine in Western Europe, under the conditions where Europe does not send additional military resources to help Ukraine fight the war. So focus one is where Europe is sending, military resources. That's people and weapons to Ukraine to fight the Russians. From focus one, it looks like the Russians attack Europe. Focus two is where Western Europe leaves Ukraine by itself, does not help it fight the war, does not send tons of, people and weapons to Ukraine. And you get sort of a mixture. And in your session, you're actually wondering if you're blending the two focuses. But when you started your discussion of Focus 2, it was clear that your initial discussion was, and I'm reading from your session, Focus 2 seems quieter than Focus 1, but there's friction, energetic still, and there are subjects here, and so it's quieter, but
there's still chaos, but it's not as much as if...
There's still stuff going on, but it's not at the same level as Focus 1, which is what we wanted to know. So we're wondering if Western Europe is going to be pulled into the war actively. Like, are there going to be Russian attacks on Western Europe? That's what we are concerned about. And it looks from your session, and we're picking up, the other sessions seem to be, I haven't seen everybody's sessions, but they seem to be similar. Focus 1. We just published one session, and we just finished editing one session, and we edited the session with Rock Archie, and he got similar results. That Focus 1 was much more of a mess than Focus 2. But anyway, you seem to be sort of half trance-like right now. Mm-hmm. You're still going in. That's the thing with you. You when you tell us these things, you are still really actively perceiving them. Okay, so Yeme, thank you very much. That was a very interesting session. And we will go on to the next one.